All right, let's call this meeting to order. Good morning. It is 8:32 on Tuesday, October 10th, 2023. And this is the meeting of the Sandpoint Arts, Culture, and Preservation Commission. And it's now called to order. This is roll call for the record. I am Chairwoman Ellie Sussness, presiding at City of Sandpoint Council Chambers, 1123 Lake Street in Sandpoint, Idaho. The commission members that are present are Barry Burgess, Caitlin Schick, Karen Wiedemeyer, Keely Gray, and myself, Ellie Sussness. Mike Lithgow is on Zoom today. Woody Sherwood is absent and Rick Dicker is absent. And Hannah. What? Oh, and Hannah is absent, although it's not fun. Okay, and Hannah Combs is absent. All right, let's head on to the meeting minutes approval. We will now proceed with the approval of the minutes from the commission's last meeting. I will entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes from September 12th, 2023. I move to approve them. Is there a second? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, let's head on to the financial report. In our SURA financial report, we have the downtown district has $165,542.55. The Northern District has $91,336.35. The Silver Box project, the advanced number is $14,840.22. And what's remaining in the balance is $5,159.78. Was there any questions on that? Oh, Rick Ticker.
Hello?
I think it's here.
Showing up late, Anna.
I think Barry's grabbing you too.
Thank you, Barry.
Gentlemen.
Thanks so much, Barry. All right, was there any questions on those numbers? All right. Moving on then, let's go to old business. 5A is the Cultural Collective Campaign, and Heather has an update on that.
Okay. So with the Cultural Collective Campaign, as you all know, this is our opportunity to be able to communicate with the community, record stories. It's a partnership with the Bonner County History Museum, where everything will be preserved and be able to share back through projects and any things that the museum is doing. I think one of the things that we're all aware of is this tagline that I continue to see, which is we need to preserve Sandpoint's community character. And I think I wanted to kind of start our meeting in just setting this seed with us all, because I think it's a really important thing to understand. And I think we need to define it a little bit. And it certainly is a giant rabbit hole to dive down, but an important one. So I just put this little slide together. And this is a definition that I got off of the American Planning Association's website. So what is the definition of community character? And community character refers to the distinct identity of place. It is the collective impression on a neighborhood or town. It is the collective impression a neighborhood or town makes on residents and visitors. Community character is defined by all the man-made and natural features of the area, including the visual character of the town, village, or city and its visual landscape, buildings and structures and their uses, the natural environment, activities, town services, and local policies that are in place. It is characterized by a specific population living within a specific geographic area, amongst whom there are present shared institutions, values, significant social interaction. So that's kind of the Webster's definition of that, but I think it's quite concise in terms of what we're trying to embody. So when we think about our character and the preservation of that, I think it's important to understand all of those different values that make up that community character, which they do list beautifully here in terms of buildings and natural landscapes and, people, all of those realms. And recently, we have the opportunity to partner with KRFY. They've given us an hour spot. And I've been in conversation with Hannah about the opportunity to have kind of a cultural collective hour on the radio where we can talk kind of in a fun, casual podcast format, if you will, about kind of defining what this is with our community, like how they feel, what the character is, and kind of going down and getting into the seeds of that and being able to start with a moment from history, such as like Ponder AP, let's say, and talk about how that statuary came about, that art piece, and who it was, and then kind of that further conversation about that. We were really excited about that idea. And this is a partnership between the city and the museum, but it certainly is on behalf of the commission. So all of us would be able to participate in these discussions and come up with different topics. That would be wonderful. So this is an idea that we've been formulating, and I wanted to present it to you all. And Hannah, please add in anything. It's still kind of in the idea stage, so.
Yeah, we've definitely been brainstorming some ideas, and it's really interesting reading this because I think we've been looking at this idea from a historic perspective. To me, this definition of community character reads very much as like, what is the present identity? So I think it will be interesting to talk about how our history informs that. But I don't know, not reading this, my brain's like, oh, this is different and bigger than I thought.
And this was more of like a little thought opening moment. So this isn't going to be defining that particular project. This word community character has been heavy on my mind. So I thought it'd be fun, to keep tying this back into all of our discussions that we have today.
Yeah. And it is interesting just thinking of all of the different things that contribute to character, our history and heritage, certainly, but also like, what is our present community landscape like? And I think seeing things like the waterfront design competition, what are our dreams for the future, that ties into it as well. Got some big topics to talk about.
Yes, and we want this, big topics. There's a lot of emotions out there, and I think it's really important as we've discussed this to make sure that it's fun and lighthearted and not like a deep political dive. So I think that's really important. And this is a time to celebrate our community and really figure out and maybe put on paper what we feel and what the community feels makes Sandpoint special. This is, I think, the start of years, in the making of continual conversation. But I think as we're moving forward into the future, it's important to understand, the past. And so do you guys like this idea about kind of using the cultural collective campaign as the focus of the radio hour and community character?
Yeah. Would you be on, you be the one speaking?
I'd be the primary host, and Hannah as well. Hannah will bring that history moment, but I think it'd be super fun to have you all on it as well, as it makes sense if you want to participate and kind of have more of that fun, approachable dialogue.
I think it's awesome. I think it'll give folks
like homegrowns like Caitlin and I an opportunity to kind of be like, hey, this is our history and learning more about others. And I think that's what we need as a bonding moment in our community.
I love that. And that last hour will be a plug for the campaign. Like if you have more information, are you related to Sam Owens, who, you know, the Ponderay Peak sculpture is, contact us. We want to hear from you. I think that more than anything, the Cultural Collective campaign is a vehicle for the city to support the museum's efforts, and make sure that in terms of preservation, that the community feels heard, you know, so that's a huge one.
I think that's great, just from the vantage of, you know, seeing everybody say, we want to keep Sandpoint. You know, but like, nobody says what that is.
Right, it's fine.
You know, but at least
Yeah.
from I don't think I'm a part of the city, but I guess I'm sitting here.
Well, you
You know, and so at least showing the residents know that like the city's listening. We hear that, we want the same thing, and this is the start of the dialogue to see what is Sandpoint. What is the Sandpoint that you want to keep Sandpoint? So, because things are gonna change, but can we keep them the same way as they're progressing?
Well, and it's interesting looking at this definition, because in my brain, this feels very like the things, like the actual tangible things that make Sandpoint. And for me, I've always described Sandpoint as like a feeling, an environment, like the way you feel when you're here. That's always how I've described it. So that's nice to have different terms of definitions, because that's always like my perspective is going to be way different than somebody else's, if that makes sense. And from a historical standpoint, like there's just so many layers of that onion to peel.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think I think we always need to have this community character and defining that at the top of our minds. And I think it'd be fun to understand that through the lens of children here, and, you know, adults, new people that, you know, great grandparents have cultivated the lands. And then, you know, maybe it's in 10 years we'll be able to provide that, or maybe we never will, but at least that conversation is starting. And I think it's a powerful one, and I think it's a really positive one. To me, character is what is unique about a place, and we get to celebrate that here as a commission through history and through art. And so it's also going to be a really wonderful research moment for us too, as we embark on all of our projects. And like thinking about this, who would have thought that hanging a rope on a tree would have been so iconic?
Yeah.
Right? Or the Statue of Liberty, you know? So it also creates so much thought. Or Cedar Street Bridge being one of the most significant architectural buildings in the state of Idaho, you know? So as we're moving forward into the future, it will be wonderful to think about what are the things that we're going to create now that will be culturally significant down the road as well. Absolutely. So, well, wonderful. Well, we'll, according to your thumbs up, continue to work on the radio opportunity in highlighting the Cultural Collective campaign.
And when you're thinking about subjects for the radio show, like Padre Pete came up when we were discussing how we were going to go forward with this, and you might think, well, oh, he's just this wooden statue that some guy did in the 40s. Well, think about the tendrils of all of that. He was carved by a man who carved lots of iconic things in the town. Russ Kochevar. He was a public artist before his time, right? He also remodeled many of those houses that were floated up from Laclede in South Sandpoint, and you know, affordable housing, workforce housing, and he added his little artistic touches in those, in murals in the closets or the bathrooms. I lived in one.
I think you're going to need to be on for this one.
I might But anyway, his tender, and then of
Yeah.
course, the fishing,
K&K Derby.
the K&K Derby. So there's all these tendrils that are connected to this one iconic piece that not everybody knows about, especially newer people to the area. So when you're thinking about your subjects that you might suggest, I just feel like we could just go down the rabbit hole of all the different things that we can talk about. Anyway, yes.
I love it.
Any other questions, comments?
Well, I think that's a great point because a lot of times, like if I'm sharing a story about local history, part of the point is to like focus on one particular story. But I do love that this is a venue where we can go down all of those different rabbit holes, explore all the different sides of something. And that's the point, is that there are these things about our community that have so many different types of impact. So it's exciting.
It is very exciting. I love it. All right. Well, onward then. 5B is the Silver Box program, and we have another update.
Perfect. So, this has just been an exciting journey. I believe I sent you an email with the links to the different press moments. And I appreciate you guys being so flexible and able to pivot. This was an interesting time period with the installations. It was kind of towards the end of the summer. We were all super swamped trying to wrap our lives up. And then we happened to have that opportunity where Anna Lee Harris was installing and Dave Gonzo wanted to be there too. So it's like we had the two artists. Kate was available with the scissors and ribbon. So I'm sorry if you weren't able to make it. Thank you for all that work. So we just decided to kind of do a little ribbon cutting during that moment. And that was also the day that I realized Ursula wasn't going to be able to make it. But we had great press coverage on this, and we have a lot of the stories were picked up from the council packets when we were going through the council process. So we had stories during that period, and then we had the Reader and the Daily Bee cover the ribbon cutting. So those were great stories that they put forth into the community. And then oh goodness. So it feels like a Monday, the Herald, Bonners Ferry Herald, picked up the story from my council packet as well, featuring Anna Lee being a Bonners Ferry artist. So I felt really great about all of the coverage. I've had a lot of positive feedback about the sculptures, and the artists they've been wonderful to get to know. I've been working closely with Ursula and sending her pictures and keeping her updated as well and celebrating her. Dave wants to, he wanted me to make sure that he wanted me to make sure, that he shared with you his appreciation for this opportunity. He is from the Northwest. He moved to Sandpoint in this past year, and he's already involved in teaching classes at POAC, and he's just a wonderful community member already. And he would love it if you would come to his studio. So that might be something that we can pull together and do a little outing as a commission. And I'm sure Anna Lee would love that as well if we wanted to go up north.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, for sure, right? So I think the more synergy that we have with the artists, the further we can help build their capacity as well. Next steps, the labels are at the printer. So I'm waiting for those to be completed and I'll put those on. I've taken photographs, which will go into our public art inventory. And I've asked for bios, pictures, website links, and most all the artists have provided that to me. So I'll be putting that on our ClearGov page. So there'll be a wonderful expansion story on the program and who the artists are as well. So any questions on this program? Oh, thank you. Been fun.
It's really cool to drive down the street and actually see something there, and like it catches your eye.
Isn't that fun?
I've had good feedback too. People are like, yeah, we got art on the boxes.
Yeah. That's what those were for.
Exciting. And I should have pulled up the photos, but I just wanted to mention, the tree, which is, over by, Farman's Park. There's a heritage tree that's right beside it. That, it like mirrors the silhouette, and Dave pointed that out. It was just kind of a magical moment.
That's cool.
It worked out as it should have. Right.
I'm all about the pivot. I'm glad you guys are too. Okay.
Yeah, that fabulous. So happy to have art on the boxes, and going forward, I hope that we never have a blank box again.
There you
All
go.
right. All right, moving on. We're on to 5C, the historic walking tour update.
So, we have closed out our last walking tour. Chris Corpus, a volunteer at the museum, did the last tour. He's so fabulous. He said it went really well. He's like, I ended up at 11:30 ending it, and the tour started at 10. So that's a really good sign. There were over 20 people there at the last tour, including some planning and zoning commission people, some individuals running for council, and other commissions. So it was really neat. Locals and individuals from out of town. So the tour, certainly every time we did it, I saw a larger participation, involvement. So I'm really excited over the winter to work with you all to see how we can improve that and build on that, and go forward with it. But it's been very well received from the community. In the meanwhile, though, if any of you want to participate or know people that would like to, you can really just search. It's kind of fun. A walk through history, Sandpoint, Idaho, and it comes up on Pocket Sites, and there's an app for it. It's on the city's website. There's also a PDF version that you can print out, but copies are available here at the city, at the chamber. Excuse me, that's embarrassing. Page not down. We'll work on that. Woo, quickly, stop sharing. And chamber, museum, the city, and different locations throughout downtown. We are totally open to doing a pop-up tour. And I'd be happy to leave that as long as it's like on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, for like homeschool groups or groups that are coming into town. If you could have a crowd of 15 or more, that would be wonderful. But I think it's something that if we can accommodate it, we should be open to doing. So any questions about the tours?
As far as the brochures, how many do we have, and what are the plans going forward to having printed brochures for next year?
That's such a great question. We have 2 boxes full, so we need to start thinking about a reprint of that. And as we discuss merging arts and history together, I think it'd be neat to maybe have a new cover that's a little bit more art centric. I had shown you an example from a different city that's kind of graphic art. It was really fascinating. As I'm working with the design competition, which I'll speak to during 5F, they're looking at broadening the historic district with in hopes of preservation ordinance and design standards associated with it. But they also had mentioned that they would love to try to expand that walking to a brochure. They thought that was such an amazing resource, and to include City Beach, the history over there with the local tribes that were first there and what the land would have been from a geological standpoint and so forth. So I think that gives us a wonderful platform to, the timing and the alignment should be just perfect.
Great. I love that. All right, any other questions? All right, let's move on then to 5E, the Parks and Recreation booklet and cover update.
So we here with our Parks and Rec team are just coming to completion on the booklet. And again, this Kim, you'll have to support me, goes out to, is it over 2,000 people in the general audience? It's inserted in every Daily Bee paper, and it's in the hands of every child that's in
Elementary school,
elementary.
the private schools in town, some of the outlying private schools as well. The library, chamber, city hall.
Yeah, outreach is really fabulous. And this is a great promotional opportunity if any of you that have organizations are interested in doing partnerships, that this is part of that, the reach that we do, you know, with the booklet in our through Parks and Recreation. And that would be the enrichment category, of course, if it's history, culture, and art. So, but most importantly, I'm really excited to present Candy, our local artist. And would you like to talk a little bit about yourself? I know that's, I'm gonna go close that door.
This is a fun change. For those of you that don't know, I got a Bachelor of Fine Arts in college for oil painting was my focus. And by the time I left college, I was having pretty significant back and leg pain. So I had to diminish the time that I was spending standing in front of an easel all the time and look for something else to do. So I ended up self-teaching myself to do watercolor. And then I've been doing that for 23 years now. And of that time, I've been painting 2 booklet covers for the city twice a year for 20 years. So I've had a long run of it, and I just want to take a moment to thank you all for your recommendation that I'm able to continue to do so. One of the things that has been additionally challenging is trying to balance this full-time working for some artistic time and then parenting. So amidst all of that, the time that I carve out for self-promotion, maybe, I guess you'd say, to support myself is even less. So I really, truly appreciate the opportunity and the exposure. So without further ado,
Yeah.
for winter. And it's called Winter Blaze. And it was inspired by like desiccated hydrangea blossoms. So by the end of the winter, when you're out there pruning in the spring, this is kind of what they look like. And when I'm painting, I'd like to say that I just kind of get good at one thing and then I keep doing the same thing. That would be easier, but I like to try something new with every painting. And so with this one, I was trying to get this concept of transparency through the petals, and then also working with a wax resist in a slightly different way than what I've done in the past. This one actually took, instead of using a wax resist on all of this stuff and then painting the background like I would normally do, I did all that. Plus, then I painted it back on to actually get the veins that I wanted and the shading, and then painted additional washes on top of that to get some of the background color of the flower, but then to be able to take that off and still have those real crisp whites to work with, similar to what you see on the really close-up little flowers in the spring. So that turned out pretty good, I think, and
Yeah.
I was very pleased.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yay. Andy, if someone wanted to purchase an original or a like cliche of that, is that an option?
Yes, so you asked me to bring it in and I had almost taken it off the board. I usually send my pictures down to Tom Clemens in Moscow. He comes up to Sandpoint about every week or every other week. And he picks up work at Ward Tolman's shop, takes it back down to Moscow, sets them up for prints, and then brings them back up. And when I order prints, I order through him as well. He's been great to work with. And so I'll sell at venues like the Christmas Craft Fair out of the fairgrounds. I did the POAC Arts and Craft Fair for the first time this summer and did really well. So I'll definitely be planning to do that again next summer. And then I also have an Etsy page and Instagram, and then I have my flower bouquet side hustle. And
We
so
do funky junk too.
yes, and funky junk. Yeah.
Thank you.
Funky Junkie is in the spring. It's super fun.
Love
It's
it.
not really a great venue for pushing artwork, but it's super fun. And my friend Jennifer runs it and it's always a blast. And I sell a couple little prints and lots of little cards. And so I'll take my images and in addition to offering them as prints, once they get shot, I can usually blow them up bigger than the original. Or at least I have that option anyways. But I also do giftable items like cards and prints and magnets and all kinds of stickers and fun stuff. Fun little things that are easier to sell at those crafty venues.
Cool.
Great.
Nice.
Thank you so much, Tammy. Good. Appreciate it. The city is so lucky to have you share your talent.
And it's fun to do. Takes me out of my cubicle box and put me in my little art space for a while.
One other comment about the Parks and Rec book, it doesn't cost anything for anyone to advertise in that, is that correct?
Well, it doesn't cost anything. If you're partnering with us, we'll do a write-up in the booklet and that doesn't cost you anything. But the only way the city is able to produce that booklet is by the Bee selling ads for the booklet.
Okay.
So the ads in the booklet are all paid for, and you purchase those through the Daily Bee. But if it's just a partnership on a program, like if we were partnering with, an introductory painting class or a drawing class or something like that, that would go in the booklet. We would take the registration most likely
Oh, right.
and then pay the instructor. That kind of advertisement all ends up with in the booklet as well as in our monthly e-newsletters and promotional material, Facebook posts and all that stuff goes with it.
Awesome. Any other questions?
And for all the, of course I know, but for everybody else that doesn't know, what all's in the booklet?
Should I pull up?
You can.
Do I have a capability?
Yeah,
That's a good question.
the
I'm just kidding, I don't know anything.
activity booklet for this fall
Should I go to sandpoint.com?
isn't up yet because we're still doing the back and forth proofs with the Bee. And I haven't seen it because Jason's been out sick for a little over a week. But I'm hoping to have an update here soon. But normally we have things in this booklet period. We have for youth league sports, we have flag football, youth volleyball, youth basketball for grades 3 through 6, sometimes even first and second graders. We have a free open gym offering on Sundays for adults and kids. We usually do that at the middle school or the high school, depending on gym availability. We try and do some enrichment classes. We've got a lady, I don't know her last name, but her first name is Chica, that's gonna offer some Pilates classes at Community Hall. Yes,
Oh, she's amazing.
yeah, she's fun. Let's see.
Is there a past booklet online by chance?
I don't think so. I've been taking the content from the booklet and creating an online newsletter. If you go all the way down to the bottom,
So this is on Sandpoint, idaho.gov.
look for the one
Oh.
with the booklet cover next to it.
There we go.
And so this is what
Fabulous.
I'll produce once a
Use
month,
newsletter.
just summarizing what's coming up next
Oh,
month.
that's
So you
great.
have a little time to plan ahead. And I try and put it in the digital format just so it's easier to share and remind everybody. Let's see.
And they can
What
register
else?
online and there's some huge advantages in terms of the partnership, obviously the reach, but the city, Cami, is in charge of herding the cats. So let's say it is an art class, you provide the curriculum and the instructor, and then we essentially do all the rest of the work in terms of promoting it and then registering people, getting them there. If something's canceled, we have to contact everybody. A lot of that hard work, goes into it, and a lot of the work that your organization might not necessarily want to do. And we always, and Cami, you've been doing this since the beginning, but essentially, we've always looked at it as like the city supports the intro too. So it's our way to help support all the arts and culture and historic things by getting people excited about it and hooked into your organization. And then you can further go for it.
Yeah, like a stepping off point, a nice entry level. It's not, it allows them to explore a lot of different stuff. I mean, the skateboarding class that we had, throughout the summer and in the fall was just an instructor that wanted to offer skateboarding in a skate park. So slightly different than just street skating and like etiquette, things like that in the skate park. And the first couple ones of those was pretty well received. It got a little cold for the last one, so that one got canceled, but.
So we certainly do partnerships, but then also the city comes up with their own programming. For instance, and Jason and Cami, you do a lot, and then I work in tandem, but the roasting marshmallows with local authors doing storytelling during the winter time is one, the new one that we're talking about
Right, we're working
developing.
on that.
Of course, we feature our historic walking tours on here, and so but if you guys have any ideas, please let me know. If you see a void in the community, that our biggest thing is like, how do we complement, promote, but not compete?
Right. There's a organization, they used to be USA Dance, I think, and now there's Sandpoint Dance. And they do ballroom dancing at Community Hall. And they offer that once a month. And I think it's only like $7 or $8 to get in at the door, and then they pay their instructor off of that. And you get like this little mini intro lesson on how to cha-cha or whatever before they start the dancing. And we're working with them to try and see if we can do some sort of class, if they provide the instructors, and then, because we haven't had ballroom dance at Sandpoint in a while. So we're always looking for something new.
How do we sign up for your newsletter?
It's not even a sign up. I just posted on our website. And then, if you have a Rep One account with the city, you'll get, that once a month blast out of activities coming up.
So anyone can
Register for that on the
So you could
website.
register for an account even if you're not taking programs.
All right. Well, let's move on to 5E, community-driven art opportunity, painting the flowers.
Okay. So good. I kind of have this category that I've created for us called the community-driven public art program. And my idea for this is I'm able to get city approval and I can get the supplies donated, and then the community are the artists and they come together and they develop the creation. So that's this like program scope. And the first one, I was able to come up with the opportunity of painting the snowplow blades. Ellie, you saw this done in Missoula?
Actually, Moscow.
Moscow, thank you. It was an M. Megan probably was.
Megan put this program together in Moscow, and it looked so fun that I thought maybe we should do it here.
Yes, so I have approval from leadership and from streets, and we have 2 plows. They are not, after I created this and then I realized that they're this traditional blade, not this one. I thought the smile was really amazing. And the streets guys, they were so funny. They were giving me a hard time. They're like, but the plows identify with being orange. And, yeah.
They're still orange underneath.
Yeah.
on the inside.
But I was like, well, so my, being kind of new to this whole thing, I was like, but we'll paint them and then people can name them. And then when you're plowing the streets, everyone's clapping and singing for you. Or like he ran over my mailbox.
With a smiley face and took out my mailbox.
So I just think that this is just fun, and the paint bucket is going to generously supply paint and paint brushes. So this traditionally would be the way that I see something like this happening, is that we go and we work with the art team, and then the art team presents to our commission. We're like, realistically, and my apologies, I'm going as fast as I can with projects, but there's just a lot going on. Our weather window is coming to a close, right? And I love the idea of this being like a public school project, but my experience, although Caitlin, you have a great connection, that sometimes those take a little bit longer to develop. And I did reach out to Sherry, just curious with creations, if this is something that would even work for their nonprofit. And letting her know that this is certainly something I'm going to discuss with the Arts, Culture and Historic Preservation Commission. She said that this is brilliant. They love it. They could do it. They could do it quickly. And she already has 2 different groups of youth artists that could do this. One would be children, and another one would be teens. So I love the idea that she's like, I could have them draw up a rendering. They could present it to your commission. She kind of had it already. Are you guys okay with that for this one? Having Creations maybe partner and.
I mean, if they've got the plan together
They
and
kind of,
and it sounds feasible.
I mean, this is so in their wheelhouse and I love highlighting them. We haven't really done a project yet highlighting Creations as a nonprofit art group.
Will we be able to meet that timeline if we wait until the next commission meeting to see their renderings, or do we need to?
I think
push
what I'm
that
gonna
forward
do is send it
faster?
out to all of you via email and then get all of your opinions. Is there a particular scope? I was thinking what they should paint, what they love about Sandpoint.
Yeah.
And then we can kind of see what they come up with. And it goes back to the community character thing, right? There's a theme here. Does that sound good to y'all? Okay, perfect. But then moving forward, we could do another group, so it's just kind of a trial period. And this is something that will have to be done annually because obviously it's not, the paint won't be a permanent thing, which I think is kind of neat to have a rotating canvas. And we'll see how it goes. Perfect. Any further comment about this or?
It's fun.
Good, I'm glad you liked it.
Very fun.
Thank you for bringing it.
Yeah, of course. The designs do not have to go to council,
No.
is that what I understand?
Yep, this project does not have to go to council. But I think we need to really, like, after it's done, I'll present to council and share. I think all the press has to be there. I haven't asked how this works, but I see the plows being in front of Cedar Street Bridge being painted, so it creates a lot of draw. Yeah, and then the press can be there and, I think it can be a very positive moment for our community.
Side note, do murals have to be approved by council, or does that just go through us as well?
Does the end product go through council? I mean, I believe it's approved just through the commission. Does that end up at council? Great question. I haven't officially been through the whole process yet for murals.
We'll have to clarify because it's been a while since we did
In a
it.
minute.
Yeah.
What fun project do you have?
Oh, I don't.
Let us in on it.
We'll put that question on our to-do list, but I did want to make a comment about this as temporary public art. I'm a real fan of actual temporary public art. I think that, wrapping the trees with yarn or painting the plows, knowing that next year we'll have to paint them again. I think having a rotating kind of canvas is really vibrant and interesting, so.
Keeps people engaged too.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you look forward to it next year, like, oh, what is the
What's it gonna
plows
be?
gonna look like next year?
And I always think about too, like emerging artists and also youth, like, can you imagine being the one that painted that and seeing it go down the road and being able to talk about it? And,
Absolutely.
it's great to have those additional canvases and opportunities for non-professional artists. So thinking about sister projects in terms of seasons, depending on how this goes and how it brings people together, I could see neighborhoods getting together and painting carpets and, games on their streets and, like, if we can get the approval and we can do the paint, they can have that expressive moment.
We have, we've created the instrument art factory, right? So you probably know about the pianos
Yes,
outside.
love
It
it.
follows that principle is that we've created a class, the kids come, they design the piano, and then, a piano kind of melts down every 2 years, so we have to replace it. But the joy that it has given the kids and to write their name on it, they've created the invitation to play and, it's outside and it's iconic. If people say, where's the school? Oh, where the piano is. Oh, I got it. I know, right? So
It's part of
that's
the
really,
character.
and people, and all the children, you know, from the community, they go and they play it and they see it's done by children, and it's just really, it really naturally, very organically brings people together. So I know it works. It needs to be highly guided, of course, because,
Yeah.
you know, now Croatians has children more 10 and younger, so they have to kind of figure out to bring a population and their students that can handle, you know, more complex patterns per se. But I attest to it that it works beautifully.
I love it. And it sounds like that piano is part of our public art. I mean, it wouldn't have to go through our approval necessarily. But Ellie,
It
we're gonna,
becomes invisible next week.
I think a movable object is maybe is different.
well,
Yeah, we have to move it inside anyway.
we'll have to think about that. Yeah, as we've been photographing public art. Okay, perfect. Yay.
That's
I'll
great.
continue on with, I'll get back to you guys, but I'm gonna get this going really quickly to make sure we meet our weather window.
All right, 5F then. The downtown waterfront design competition update.
Fantastic. So we are in the workshop phase, which is stage 3. And so the technical team has been working with the design team, GGL and Bernardo Wills. And they've been going through and reworking the plan according to what the community feedback was, the jury feedback, and the technical advisory feedback, along with the stakeholders commentary as well, to make sure that it's a really viable plan. In addition to that, I've had 2 Zoom meetings with the teams individually. One of them was with Mike. Mike, I'm going to put you on the spot. And so that was a cultural meeting, and that was intended to figure out next steps. Did you have anything that you wanted to add upon reflection of that meeting?
No, not really. I think, I mean, we're excited to continue our involvement and engagement with the design team. And yeah, I mean, everything's gone well so far. Just looking forward to moving on with the process. But thanks for including us.
And thank you, Mike. Mike is heavily involved in so much of the planning of Sandpoint. I feel like you need to have a house here. It's been
Nice.
wonderful. We really appreciate you and all of the involvement of the Kalispell tribe. It's the greatest gift to be able to have your insight as we're growing and developing. And so it's been amazing. So that was one meeting that we had, and it's kind of next steps in terms of where we want to go with the rewilding and the storytelling. And so I think you'll be very excited about what comes out of that. The second Zoom meeting we had was about historic preservation, which has to do with a potential ordinance change for protection of historic buildings and design standards that that respectfully acknowledge our historic vernacular that surrounds it. So I worked with them. They were so impressed with all the resources that the Historic Preservation Commission and our commission have provided them, that they had a clear understanding of how to move forward, and I just verified all that information with them. So I think you'll be additionally excited about what comes out of that as well. And I had mentioned before, I'm so impressed with this team. They really are hearing everybody, and I feel like they are doing above and beyond what the project scope has included. I mean, to think about how to enrich some of our education resources, such as the walking tour, in tandem with what they're doing in terms of increasing, you know, awareness and development of the downtown area. It's pretty awesome. So I'm feeling really positive about this process and very fortunate that we have their guidance through this. Any commentary or questions?
Are the design boards going to be here today?
Great question. That way, I can get back to you on that. Okay. That's a Cassidy Jennifer area. Cassidy, Jennifer's assistant, has done such amazing work in coordinating with the Don and Jen who run the design competition. So
Great. All right, any other questions on this topic? All right, let's head on to 5G then. The ACHP team updates.
okay, so this is that area where we get to share what all of our teams are doing. And I'm super excited that the arts team will be meeting on the 18th at 10 o'clock here in Birch. And I'll have a nice little agenda for us to go over. So everything that we do in those team meetings is more of a workshop process. We'll be able to share at the next meeting, or if it's time sensitive, we share it through email ahead of time and then get approval. I really appreciate you guys being so responsive, and I'll always say like response needed in the headline. If there is response that's necessary, I know you guys get flooded with lots of emails. So next steps would be also getting a date on the calendar for the implementation team. We need to get the policies and procedures wrapped up for our public art. We need to start looking at donations and memorials. Memorials more than ever, considering the heritage tree issue that's been on the headlines. So, you know, how that process works, how do we document it, what's fair to the community, you know, all of those things are really important. You can see the value of like a strong policies and procedures with, you know, being able to move forward into our community.
I was gonna bring that up later, but it's so apparent, you know, we had that meeting a few times ago about putting art in a park. We thought, like, it started out the conversation, like, yeah, that looks great, let's do it. And then the more we dug deeper, this shows why we need to set expectations up front. To say that this is here for a lifetime, or this is temporary, or this is, you know, so that if I'm donating something, I'm not caught off guard that that tree really means something to me, you know, rather than, because it is sensitive, but it's also, you know, but in the city, there's a lot of people, so it's hard to just take the, you know, the person that donated, yeah, their intentions were true at the time, but that isn't going to work right now, you know, and we still have everybody living that wants to use the park or these things and wants to see that art or, you know, whatnot. So it's just, I think we've really like saved ourselves and had a realization that how important this is. And now it's popping up again, that we can see that, yeah, we could quickly pass something in here or approve something in here, but 5 years down the road, it could cause a huge pain for the city and the community members and stuff. So yeah, it just shows how important it really is.
Yeah, we'll have to be really thoughtful about that.
Yeah.
Policy making going forward.
Yeah.
How we deal with memorials.
It's just, you know, fair to everybody, fair to the city, fair to the person donating. So.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I was really impressed when that conversation went in the direction that it did when we were deciding about the farm and park, and they totally understood it as well too. And so it just brought me so much joy, and I'm like, this is the team that's going to get all that, the foundation of what we need in order so we can move forward in a way that can, you know, be positive.
Mhm.
I appreciate that.
I know it's a little bit different, but if there's anything I can share from the museum's collection management policies that would help specifically with donations from the community, I'd be happy to share any of that language or
That'd be great.
information.
Thank you, Hannah. I
I
appreciate
deal with tricky situations like that all the time. Of, you know, donors' intentions versus what makes sense for the organization.
A lot to think about.
Yes, so I'll whomever is on, well, I know who's on the implementation team. I'll get that email out hopefully today and we'll get something scheduled. And I think it would make sense like once a month, or if we're working on a project, we can even maybe do it a little bit more. But I believe the team's meetings will be as consistent as the projects are reflective. So the historic preservation team has been doing a lot of work. So we meet every Monday at 9 o'clock. And I just wanted to share where we are with that. And I encourage anybody from that team to chime in. Let me just get to some of.
I have one more question
Yes.
about implementation. As we are developing our policies and procedures, I'm just thinking about what you were working on with planning and zoning last week, and those are code changes, which is a big deal, but would our policies and procedures have to go through a public hearing or just be approved by council? How would that work in terms of getting those finalized?
I think it depends on what the document is, but essentially it would go through contracts, the department, which is Cheryl, and then after that it goes through our legal team. And then depending on the document, it would also go through council as well. Thank you. So it's a process. You're welcome. We've got lots of support and eyes on what we're doing. Great question. So, as you all know, with the historic preservation team, one of the things we've been working on would be the recommendations of what is compatible to Sandpoint's residential character. And this was a slide that was used. I'm just going to buzz right through it so you just as a reminder, but we had presented these 6 key characteristics that aren't necessarily compatible to a primary structure, but that are compatible to the residential character of Sandpoint. And, the why, this is in our master plan, it's in the comprehensive plan, which hopefully will be adopted soon, which speaks to making sure that we're preserving and celebrating our community character. All of these 6 had many meetings with Planning and Zoning Commission and lots of healthy, wonderful discussion. I presented how these 6 characteristics that go back to the bungalow, which is our most the largest example in our historic vernacular inventory here in the residential areas, how flexible these 6 key characteristics are. And sorry, built in 2000, that's 2020. For some reason, I've lost like 20 years of my life. Hopefully it's reflected. So we have like a little mill house that was built in the 1900s. And then this is over on Walnut. There's some really great examples of something very similar in terms of style. And it's really fun to think about how something that suited someone from the turn of the century could still potentially work today. We cited goals, went back into, different neighborhood styles, how elaborate a house can be. Even the flamingo, which I think is burned in everybody's mind. And pink is back, by the way. And then we went into detail about what that means. And then even Barry, so fabulous. He rented a wonderful floor plan and rendering of what the 6-pack looks like on a contemporary style, a 2-story, and a more of a traditional style as well. And then we even talked about how this can be a modern feel with the introductory of the clear story style from the 1970s. And this was about sustainability, where you're adding more light. So you're having to use less electricity and heat, which was a problem back in the 70s, and we still are facing today. And I just want to comment that Condo del Sol is really doing the clear story strong. So again, we all go back to our history, and there's some concerns that we're hearing from the community about the new development. A lot of people are feeling like these styles are very characterless. They're the least amount when you're talking about like a shed roof and no eave and all metal cladding and so forth. So That's a very high level quickie there. We kind of landed, I thought this was a really neat example. There's this house on 420 Michigan. This is the before. It's a little rancher, and this is the image of today. And this actually hits all of the characteristics, and it's very on trend, but still classic quality. And it goes with so many different styles in all the different neighborhoods. The thing that it's missing is the contrasting trend, and that is the element that the Planning and Zoning Commission moved forward not including. So I have a little thing here for you. Essentially, and that's kind of my landing example, is the two here. So the Planning and Zoning at the last commission meeting made a motion to move forward for a public hearing with many different decisions for code repair with the accessory dwelling units. I'm just speaking to the design compatibility moment because that's what we had provided recommendation for. And they landed on ADUs shall be designed consistent with the principal structure, roof pitch, exterior cladding, and windows, or shall incorporate the following 5 design features to ensure compatibility with Sandpoint's residential character: a gabled or hipped roof, eaves of no less than 1 foot, front-facing windows, a covered pedestrian entrance, which could be a porch, portico, or trellis, and siding of materials consistent with the principal residential structure, such as siding, brick, stucco, or stone. There was also commentary about the second floor window, which needs to be workshopped because they're talking about allowing clear glass to be up there as long as it's not visible, you know, in terms of seeing in from the neighbors. And then I just wanted to mention too, there was a change in terms of height. So other changes that address community character, limiting the height to 1.5 stories or 26 feet, whichever is less, and maximum size of the 700 square feet for a single story, and a 2-story cannot exceed 75% of the area of the principal structure of 700 square feet, or whichever is less. So we went from 900 square feet for just the ADU structure. Okay, that doesn't include the bottom if you're doing a 2-story. Now it's down to from 900 to 700. This is a recommendation, which is going to public hearing, and then the maximum height of 26 feet. And when we think about height scale proportion, that does definitely come into a conversation when we're thinking about what works with your historic vernacular as well, along with the materials. So I feel really excited. I think this is one of the first opportunities potentially in code that we would actually have language of saying this is why we're doing it, and it's in all of our plans. But according to our commissioners, they're actually taking the steps to move forward by hearing what the community is saying, looking at our plans, and actually considering putting it in code. Now, this has to go through 2 more stages now. So it has to go through a public hearing process. After that, then recommendations are made through council too. So it will be really fascinating to see like what happens in the end. And then, so if this were adopted, this would be officially in code, and code is the only way that you can actually, you know, restrict anything or, you know, protect. This is a lot of information, but this, I think of this as like a win, and I think it's a good compromise. You know, I don't think it's very restrictive. People can still have a structure that complements their primary, that is an accessory dwelling unit. So they could do a shed roof, and they could do an all clad still and play on the current trend. So any comments on this or questions?
I just think it's awesome that our commission is working with another commission of the city to steer this kind of thing. Because I mean, the public art aspect is very important, but with everything that Sandpoint's facing right now, it's nice to have many brains on the subject. So I think this is a wonderful collaboration, and hope it can continue.
This is huge, and all of your important work is so appreciated. And in all the 6 years, 2 terms that I was on Historic Preservation Commission, we weren't at the table having that synergy with the other commission. And so hats off to all of you guys for being a part of that conversation. It's hard work, and I really appreciate all of you for all the work that you do. The whole city is celebrating you. In terms of, it's interesting though, and many of you have been attending the commission meetings, and I really appreciate that. It goes very far when you attend the meetings,
The council meeting.
council and the planning and zoning commission meetings. And if you have a moment to speak to, I think sometimes they only hear from a certain part of the community, and I think it's important to have that well-rounded voice. The commission after, came to us and they were like, here we go, but we need your guys' support in making sure that you have, the visuals and the information in that public hearing and council to help us support what we're moving forward. And so the historic preservation team, which we'll share with all of you, and I want all of your feedback, of course, will be kind of working on that elevator pitch essentially, on the why, and give some really kind of playing the devil's advocate, like, wow, like, can this be flexible with creativity, and can this be more modern and on trend? And it's like, yes, here's the way you can do it. We also have the amazing pattern book too that supports the why this makes sense to our community character with the pattern book of the bungalow. So all of that hard work on those education and advocacy resources with historic preservation are already coming into play and helping support the process.
I know you are creating a presentation board for the public hearing for planning and zoning about this. Would we also be able to present a copy of the bungalow pattern book there so people can get a little bit more context? For the
Absolutely.
why? Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic idea.
It was really valuable for me to go to the planning and zoning meeting this past month to get a better understanding of how our work ties into the bigger picture, because I feel like planning and zoning is on the front lines of addressing the current issues we're having with housing, and being able to get a better understanding of what they're dealing with definitely gave me more perspective on how we can help them. So it was really, thank you for inviting us.
Oh yeah, thank you for being there. That means so much, and they love it too. Like they all right.
They hardly ever have anybody in the audience that's there to learn,
I think all of us need support and further understanding, and I think they're just celebrating the fact that you guys are providing that, and it's huge.
The other project that they just completed is the comprehensive plan. And that actually, they sent it to council last week for the public hearing, and it ended up getting tabled. The comprehensive plan is another really important thing that needs to be approved for us to move forward with any kind of design guidelines and ordinance changes. So I would recommend to every one of you to actually read that and even let the council people know that if you're, we need to get it approved if you so feel. And also the 2009 comprehensive plan is on the website. So they're all on the city website. And it's actually really valuable to read through the 2009 comprehensive plan and see the difference. There literally is 2 sentences about historic preservation in the 2009 plan. So we've come a long ways, and it's vitally important that we think about these things and let council know how we feel. So I highly recommend that. Thank you. Any other questions? Do we have any other team?
We have an election coming up. And I think it's really important also as we're thinking about, you know, when people are like, what can we do? How can we save our history? How can we change? Like to think about who we're electing and bringing in too. And I have no opinion about that, of course, but when people are thinking about how can we get involved, because we can tell people what our master plans say and do the good work and show them how to get there. But in the end, those final decisions are made by council and the commissions. And those are the elected seats. And so it's really important that, you know, we as a community understand to participate and be involved and understand who we're electing in terms of the decision making.
And the great thing is, all of that information is on the city website, so, really, if you want to know what's happening, go to the website, read the documents. It's all right there.
Bless you.
All right, so, if there's no more questions on that, let's go to the 6A, the general announcements and comments. And actually, I was going to mention the comprehensive plan in this section, but I already did. So any other
Well,
comments?
does anybody have any questions about the comp plan and what that is? That is like the most important document that we have, which is high level, which activates all of the other master plans.
And that plan is required by the state, so it's not something that you can choose to not do. That is required.
What is it, 10 years? Every 10 years you're supposed to update it?
Yes, and this planning stage started in 2019.
Yeah.
So because of COVID, it got put on hold. So it's been in the making for years. And so it's time to wrap it up. Let's get it done and move forward with our goals.
Some people call that like the Bible of the city, like that's what we are supposed to do and abide by. And it was, again, like when people are trying to figure out how to have a voice, like making sure that they have comment and they participate during that period or coming to council when it's up for adoption and talking about it. It was interesting how there were like, what, 2 or 4 people left during that meeting. And I don't think the community realizes how important it is to be involved in moments such as that, in terms of how things are being driven in the planning and.
Well, unfortunately, I think the fact that it was put on hold kind of,
Yeah,
the momentum was lost.
Yeah.
And so we have to get people back to, because there was a lot of public input obviously in
all those years.
all those years, but you know, it's just
So a lot of people probably think that it has already been adopted. and don't
probably,
realize that
yeah.
Or don't even know about it. And so, it's neat because we're in the inner workings, but it is hard if you're not, you know, totally in these seats to understand how process and procedure works. And so the more we can communicate that with the public and encourage them to participate whenever they can in these ways to make a huge impact, I think it's very valuable for us.
So this should have been done in 2019, but has got pushed because of COVID.
Well, we started the
Process.
process, you know, it
We're
might
on
take
track.
a year
It's
or,
just taken a lot longer than I wanted.
So the last one. I thought you said the last one was adopted in 2009.
2009.
And that was during a recessionary period.
Yeah.
And so it was a time of like economic development, you know, like that was the main focus, right? And it's so amazing in a period of time how much we've shifted and changed.
Even in the time between we started the planning of this one in 2019 and now things have, you know.
Yeah.
So that's why I recommend we read it.
I just realized in terms of our work on the commission, everything in the Arts and Culture and Historic Preservation Master Plan, I think the longest timeline they have in there is 10 years. So everything that we do with that plan will be governed by this comp plan.
Right.
We won't really get, I mean, I know some projects will go beyond that, but this will kind of rule everything that we do with our plan.
And there is a lot of reference in the comprehensive plan back to our plan, which is great. I was super proud of that.
I worked with the city planner in the beginning and all the divisions do to make sure that everything makes sense, you know, so like nothing's siloed, like we're all working together in terms of the most important priorities and so forth. So, and the downtown waterfront will be an addendum that adopted plan, which October 18th is coming to council. So that will be an addendum to the comp plan. But, you know, we want to make sure, of course, that the comp plan is complete and it includes everybody's input, of course, but we need to get that adopted in order to have any code change done. So the longer that that's going to take, it stalls out everything at the city. So it's just something to remember.
Are they fairly confident it will be adopted this year? Or not sure?
This is my first experience, so it's really exciting. I was zooming in, so even though I
Yeah,
can
I was
always
there.
be
You
at
were
the
zooming.
meetings, yeah, we're texting. It was exciting for me. So even if you can't make it to the meetings, you can zoom in and do your dishes, laundry, like you can still live your life, but be a part of it. But it was almost like watching a football game. So, yeah, I think that we got pretty close. But there was some things that needed to be evaluated, and it was a pretty emotional council meeting. So I think there was a lot of processing that needed to be done.
Is the comp plan just being refined by staff at this point, or are they going through another public hearing process, or how will that work?
That's a good question, because that was the hearing, so because there was so few people.
Okay.
I don't really
I
know.
think they were hoping to have more of like a town hall feel in terms of, I don't think they were calling it a workshop, but maybe another hearing or in the date. It still needs to be established, but I believe, of course, staff leadership is working with legal on what the next step looks like and what would be the most effective. One of the things that I think can be frustrating at times, and I'm new to all of this, but we'll do like a workshop on a really important thing and only like 5 or 6 people come. So, you know, it's just trying to figure out how to get people involved and get people to participate. I know a lot of people work during the afternoon and have like, you know, they're parenting when they come home and it's complicated, but these are really important things to have the input on. And so we're always figuring out the magic, and you know, Facebook isn't the platform for making those big decisions. So,
From you, place where people go to be mean to each other.
If you guys are interested, would you keep us updated when you know the dates?
absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I can send out a short email, like little like
Yeah.
updates on like what's happening, and
That would be great, yeah.
I'd love to do that. And thank you all so much for helping be communicators and ambassadors.
And if you don't make the Zoom, they're on YouTube,
Yeah,
Yes, absolutely.
so it's nice to like,
You can always go back.
it's like a book, right? I'll just watch a little bit and come back later.
That's a good way to do it, actually. Small bit.
Yeah, right? I don't want to get too emotional.
Split out for the week.
I don't know. I think it's better than Bravo. Yeah,
Well,
it's great, but it's really important to understand what the community is concerned about, and I celebrate everybody that comes and speaks, and yeah, it's really important to be up to date on those things.
All right, any other activities?
Yeah, just a
Come on.
little, an update, because we competed on a national level with a good use, foundation. I don't know if they're a foundation, but anyway. So they flew in and we were, grant awarded, and, they flew in their building assessor from Atlanta last, week, and it was so wonderful to meet her. And so we are embarking on a journey together. So they're going to partner with us, with our building, all the way from helping us with the windows. Then the next step is heat pump. And then they says, we're going to help you with solar. So this is a long-standing relationship. But the nice part is that from that part of the world, that was the first contact with us, meaning with Sandpoint. So she then embarked on a tour and kind of to get a feel for what Sandpoint is all about. And I think that's going to be an organization that may make sense for others as well. They have a wide scope of how they support. But it was just a really wonderful kind of lighthearted and joyous moment for everybody and from both parties, because they enjoyed having discovered us and we enjoyed being discovered.
Yeah.
So which means our capital campaign, as we are preparing for this, we don't have to worry so much about raising funds for the building for some of those fundamentally important aspects, because they've said they're going to partner with us on a long-term basis. So, which is really fantastic, knowing that, okay, looks like the building will be taken care of. And, we can transform it into a zero carbon building and really make it habitable on a long-term basis. And that was my personal goal, to be sure, and then make that a prototype of, we can do this on other buildings as well.
Wow,
Very
exciting.
They're called Good Use. And I just don't know if they're Good Use Foundation. I feel there's a different word in third position, so I'm going to make sure I'll get that to you.
Yeah, I'd love to learn more about their work.
Brilliant work.
In fact, Karen, as I'm talking to people about historic preservation, and energy efficiency and retrofitting, I'm sending them to you.
Please. I'd love to be the go-to person for that.
What are you two doing for Halloween? Because it's just.
That's right.
I know,
shall we share?
I just need to know. Is there ghost fest?
Well, let's get the skeleton out of the closet. So we're doing in partnership a haunted conservatory. And so it's going to be a lot of fun. So we'll have open doors and all the things that it takes to scare people. And then you tell your part.
Yeah, so we're gonna be doing a little exhibit / photo booth in the little Carnegie Hall. We're gonna set up some ghostly musicians on stage. We have a number of skeletons literally in our shed. We bring them over. We're putting together some historic costumes for them from the time frame from when the original conservatory was there in the early 1900s. And we have some of our historic, locally made musical instruments that the skeletons will be playing. We're working with Cheris on how to turn this into sort of a photo booth opportunity for kids to play along with the skeleton band.
So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. If you feel really compelled to make a candy donation, do not let me stop you. We have a big bucket because we know we're going to go through a ton or 2 or 3. So if you feel you want to drop by and bring a half a ton or so of candy, please, we welcome you to do so. I know we'll need a lot.
What?
So,
Is it on Halloween?
so it's the it's on Halloween, but the haunted house will be opening the weekend before, Saturday and Sunday, and then of course on Halloween itself. So you can come for a tour, and I think they are decorating each room differently. So there'll be lots of closets, lots of skeletons.
Oh my goodness.
So exciting.
Very fun. Well, very good. Anyone else?
You go first.
Oh, okay. LPO Rep is actually having our 3rd annual, can't believe I said that, 3rd annual Speakeasy event. It's our fundraiser that raises money for our spring and fall musicals. And so the funds for this would go towards the rights for Legally Blonde, which we are hoping to do in May. The dates for Speakeasy, if you're not familiar with it, we take you back to the 1920s. We've got lounge singers, and there's a whodunit mystery involved throughout it. So we have a local writer who wrote that. And it's just a really fun time. 219 is our venue, and Mark usually always comes up with a really fun menu for drinks and stuff like that, 21 and over, obviously. But it's just a really fun night of entertainment. The dates are October 26th and November 2nd. They are Thursdays. And the event starts at 7. It goes about 2 hours. And you can get tickets on our website, lporep.com.
Yeah, very good.
I would want to actually add something. This weekend, ever so often I want to highlight a special young artist because North Idaho Philharmonia is performing. And Alana Dixon, who's a stunning young soprano, she's 18, is going to make her debut with an orchestra. And I recommend for you to, because she's coming out of the midst of the Sandpoint and she's an incredible talent, deserves to be recognized because later on in her life, she will say it started in Sandpoint. And this is a wonderful thing to say for a young person, right? So the Friday, the 13th performance is going to be the First Lutheran Church at 7 o'clock. And then the second performance is in Coeur d'Alene at the First Presbyterian Church at 2 o'clock. And there are posters everywhere, and we'll be on radio on Thursday, KPBX and KRFY. But it's worth, even if it's not your genre of music, just to kind of see, wow, these kids are really astounding. And it takes a village to raise them, and it takes a village to support them, is really makes all the difference for this young talent, because they will be going places, I promise you.
So exciting. Rick, did you have that?
I did, more of a question. So you mentioned elections coming up. And so I've seen in the past, council gets elected mayor, obviously they're not on council anymore. Same thing, planning and zoning up to council, commission up to, our commission up to council, that type of stuff. What are the rules, laws about two positions, or do people always vacate what they're on before? How does all that work?
They vacated historically. So for instance, if I win, then Hannah would take over as chair because she's vice chair, and then we fill this position.
Okay.
Or a position.
Yeah.
However, the great thing about our commissions is traditionally we have a city council liaison. Back before the pandemic, we would have a council liaison that would come to our meetings, which I think had a lot of synergy as far as communication and, I know that some of the councilors watch the commission meetings, P and Z especially. I don't know if they watch too much of ours, but
I'm just saying, Jason Welker said that he listens to our meetings every month and that we are an amazing commission.
Hey,
That's
Jason.
what you know.
so what I envision, if for instance, I win council, then I would like to be the liaison to this commission. And I think that would be a really
That'd be cool.
great fit
Yeah.
for everybody.
Cool.
So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't know how,
Yeah,
because it's obvious higher up,
Right.
but when we start getting a little bit lower in the city, when are there two positions, or is it always vacate the one you're on?
As far as I know, I think,
It's a great question.
I mean, you could probably change the policy to be able to do both, but that's a lot. I
Yeah.
think that's a lot. I think that, in my case, I would say vacate the position and let more voices on the
Right.
commission. That's would be my goal.
I definitely know that Melissa Ward, our city clerk, and our legal have an exact answer, but I
Yeah,
think that
right.
makes great sense. So anyway,
Cool.
if you want. I would
Yeah, we
always
would
defer to
have to
them.
defer.
Yeah, and, but there's definitely there's a formal process in place.
Yeah,
Great question.
cool. Yeah, it's so relevant right now and,
Mhm.
affects our commission.
Yeah,
So,
definitely does.
Because it would be nice to have you on council, but it'd be a bummer losing you from here. So,
Excited for you, Elliot. So exciting to see those signs out there.
yeah.
All right, well.
What,
Your pin on my purse.
who on council is up for, I guess, what seats? Is it all?
Andy's and Deb's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool, thanks.
So there's 6 running for 3 seats on council.
Is Andy running? Okay, I didn't see a sign.
All right. Oh, Hannah's got something.
I would love to share that we have a new exhibit opening on November 10th. This is the first major exhibit we have done in 4 years, since before COVID. And this one was in a small way inspired by COVID. It's going to be called Come What May, We Will Play. And so remembering that time and all of the creative ways that people found joy and community through that difficult experience, we took a look back at different ways that people have done the same thing throughout our community in the past. So whether people were living through the Great Depression or the World Wars, so like big national crises, or personal injury or different challenges in their own lives. We're just looking at the ways that people found resilience and joy through different types of play. So we'll be looking at nature play, imaginative play, social play, and thanks to a grant we got from the Equinox Foundation, we are able to incorporate a whole bunch of different interactive activities for kids and adults. So it will be an opportunity for the whole community to come out and find their playfulness a little bit. And it will be up for at least 2 years. So, but the opening is going to be on November 10th. So anyone, who'd be interested in that?
Can I just celebrate you for a moment and your team? Amazing, amazing. Like, I'm super excited. Like, you guys are just doing such an incredible job. So just to give you an idea, which is like, well, we just got a grant for this exhibit. Was it $17,000? $16,000. I did that last exhibit for $250. Okay, guys, so like, they're amazing. All of you are amazing. We're building these organizations and finding resources to do great things here, because it is very challenging to be able to exhibits are expensive, and
Well, I think you deserve it.
no.
No money.
I was like, that's an incredible budget. And we spent years trying to figure out how to do interactive, so I applaud you guys for bringing them to Sandpoint to the museum. So it's going to be amazing.
I don't know if any of the other nonprofit directors have experienced this. I feel like we're now coming against the challenge of like, we have all this money and our volunteers, and everyone's like, okay, we have to how do we do it for free? We
Get out of that mindset.
No more spray painting frames at Goodwill.
Congratulations, great job on that. All right, well, it's 10. Anyone else? Well, great meeting today, everybody. I just love this group. All right, let's adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you.